Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. I wasn't expecting that. I did think that Alexander Povetkin was a much, much, much more live underdog than some potentially picked him as. Shocking. Really, really shocking.
Yeah, I before the fight, I thought it was a Whyte points victory. I was pretty confident with that pick. I thought Whyte will box and move. He's got a good jab. You watch Dillian Whyte on the TV and you think, oh, he looks slow and ponderous. You're in there with him. He's got a good jab. He moves his feet well. He's defensively quite sound. You don't get to where he is without being good, beating some of the names he's beat. I thought Povetkin was shot to bits before the fight, and having watched the first 4 rounds, I'm still the same mindset. I think he's shot to bits. I think he's finished Povetkin. I think he's done. Dillian Whyte, after the 4th round, I stopped watching really. I kind of was on my phone thinking this has only got a couple of rounds left. Dillian Whyte's going to put him on the jab. He's only got to land one more good shot, put him over. The rest going to call it off. I was disinterested. Thought this fight's over. I thought Dillian Whyte, this is a great performance. He's going to stop Alexander Povetkin in the first half of the fight. Now it's going to be interesting. Is it going to be Fury? Is it going to be Joshua? Is it going to be Wilder? Like where next? Out of nowhere, the jab, he sits right down on his legs, comes up with a left uppercut that would have knocked anybody in the world of boxing out. People were saying to me, would you have took that? You got a good chin. I said, I would still be a kip now. And they asked me last week. It was just a perfect shot. I think he's shot to bits, but I think his legs have gone. I don't think he's as fast as he used to be. But you don't lose your power and you don't lose your skill. They're the last 2 things you lose, your power, and you're not going to lose all the 30 years of boxing experience. You're not going to lose that. You're not going to lose your power. It was just 2 seconds of just rolling the clock back. You know? I think Dillian Whyte wins the rematch. I think it's dangerous to take it so soon after the first fight. But from what I saw, there's only one winner in the rematch, you know? But it's a big thing to come back from, a knockout like that. It's a scary knockout. It's a big thing to come back from.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the big question for me. I think going into a rematch, you would probably ordinarily favour Dillian Whyte, but the quick turnaround, and also I think people are losing sight of the fact that Dillian Whyte's been in a lot of hard fights, consecutively difficult fights. Yeah. You talk about the Joseph Parker fight. He was down in that fight. The end of that fight was really, really difficult for Dillian Whyte. Both Chisora fights were both wars. Yeah. First one could have gone either way. He was behind on the cards in the second one. Marius Vac had some success out in Saudi Arabia, hurt him a couple of times. All right, that wasn't obviously an in shape and kind of peak Dillian Whyte. But we're kind of getting to the stage now where probably, I'd say Oscar Rivas had him down. Yeah. 7 of the last 8 or 9 fights we've seen him hurt. I remember it wasn't that long ago. Robert Helenius stung him. I think that was on the
early on, yeah.
Joshua Takam undercard. Yeah, stung him with a jab early on. So, and as you know, at heavyweight, it only takes one shot. I would be very, very concerned about going into that fight. I mean, November the 21st is kind of the date that we're hearing about that fight. That's a quick turnaround for such a brutal knockout.
I mean, I look at it 2 ways. If I'm Dillian Whyte looking at the fight, I'm watching the first fight back and thinking, I had this fight in the bag. You know? He'll be looking at it and thinking, he's in there with him. This is not Povetkin from 2008 or 2000, when he won the Olympics 2004. 2000, before he watched Klitschko, that's the best Povetkin. That's a very dangerous man. We're not dealing with the same Povetkin now, you know? And I would think Dillian Whyte had the confidence to think he'd beat him 9 times out of 10, and that one time he gets lucky, and that one time's been and gone. You know, that was a bolt of lightning that hit him. You know, and he'll not think you wouldn't think that would happen twice. Like I say, the big knockout is a worry, but for me, what other options he got? What else can he do? What's he gonna do? Have a 10-rounder? Keep ticking, just ticking over. There's no point. He has to go back in. He beats Povetkin. He's where he was before the first fight. He loses, his career over. But for me, what other options are there? What else can they do? So, Dillian Whyte, you have to respect him, because since he boxed Joshua, he boxed me, then Lewison, and then after that he left domestic level, and he's fought. He fought Brown when he was undefeated. He fought Parker when he possibly didn't need to. Rivas is a very dangerous man that he probably didn't need to fight. So, I mean, you look at his record and you have to take your hat off to him and say, yeah, he's fought everybody, but he has to fight Povetkin next, and he has to beat him, or he's pretty much career done, because Dillian won't want to come back and fight below the level he's been fighting at, I wouldn't have thought.
If you're Alexander Povetkin, surely you've got to be fancying the rematch.
I'm not sure, because I just thought the commentary was horrific. early on the fight was. I watched it with commentary, and after the fight, I said, "Oh well, Dylan Whyte won all 4 rounds comfortably." He didn't. Povetkin had some success early on. You know, the 3rd round wasn't great for him. In the 4th round, he was dropped twice and he was dominated. However, early on, he did have some success. Povetkin's got the kind of face where you think he's struggling, but he does it. I remember watching boxing with Fury, and after 3 rounds, I thought Povetkin's struggling, his old man. After 11, 12 rounds, he's still putting the same face, he's still at the same pace. But I fancy Dylan Whyte to beat him. I really do. I think Dylan Whyte stops him. Just watching the 3rd and 4th round, Povetkin is done. But like we said before, the skill level and the power will not leave you. So Dylan Whyte, I saw interviews with him after the fight, and I really liked what he was saying. He knew the mistakes he'd made. He knows what he has to do. That's something then to go and do it.
Just expand on that a little bit, because obviously some of the interviews that we've heard from Dillian Whyte after the fight saying, you know, he knows what to expect now, he knows what to look for. It looked to me like Povetkin was setting that shot up for a couple of rounds. And if you're preparing to box Alexander Povetkin, I'm assuming at least that one of the big parts of your preparation is to watch him getting on the inside and letting go of those short shots. Yeah. We saw him knock out Carlos Takam from 6 inches away. Yeah. So surely that has to have been factored into your preparations for that fight, and you should really have prepared for that the first time. Is it what I'm saying is it a case of Povetkin was just able to unlock the door, and is he going to be able to do it again in a rematch?
Well, it's really funny actually, because my old man, I was doing some pad work and my dad was watching, telling us what to do. This was 6 p.m. an hour before Charlie Cullen, the first fight. He was saying, look, I want you to throw a jab, sit right down on your knees and throw the left uppercut, then come back to the right and left up. That's what we were doing. And 4 hours later, that's the shot Povetkin threw. You throw the jab. The jab never hit Whyte, and he slipped his jab and he came up with the uppercut. Because Povetkin's head was below Dylan Whyte's line of vision, he couldn't even see his hand. He thinks Povetkin shot's the left hook, so he's blocking the hook. That leaves all that open. So from early in the round, like you were saying, round 1, he was having success to the body. He was digging the left hook to the body. He wasn't really going for the head. And I thought Povetkin early on would have a go. I thought he'd be swinging short shots in, hook with either hand, and the uppercut. And I thought he'd be trying to finish with the left hook, and he wasn't. He was hitting the body. So you'd have to say that it did look like it was. There was no lucky punch. I've heard people come out. I've heard some really world class fighters say it was a lucky punch, and I thought, you know better than that. Come on. You don't win Olympic gold medals and world heavyweight titles with lucky punches.
It's a beautiful shot. There's no way you can look at that and think anything else.
He threw the jab, he slipped down, and he just changed the angle of the punch from a hook to the uppercut and knocked him spark out. There's no luck involved. It was unbelievable. Whether it was just a spark of genius. Like I say, it was just a few seconds. That's all you need at that level when you can punch like that. But yeah, I think he was planned. I think to do that 2 times in a row would be unbelievable. Because it was, I think that's the shot of his career, and he's landed some beauties. But that for me tops all the others.
AJ said after the fight, I interviewed Eddie, and he said that AJ told him that, like, watch out for Povetkin. And you think about the knockouts that he scored over the years, the Mike Perez knockout, the Hopas knockout. I mentioned the Takam knockout, the David Price knockout was absolutely savage as well. And he just has this way of finding the opening. I mean, people forget that I think broke Joshua's nose in the first round of their fight, gave Joshua all he could handle until Joshua was able to establish that distance. I'm not sure Dillian Whyte can hold that distance any longer than he did in the last fight. I think that the rematch has to be a shootout, really, but you would have to kind of be concerned for the guy who just got knocked out in that case.
You would. Dylan Whyte, for me, is underrated, I think. He does things that's really high quality, that people that don't watch a lot of boxing don't involved in, like the way he catches, like Callum Smith-esque. Apart from he catches it with the same hand. He was catching the left hook and he was throwing. He was catching with
the second knockdown was a lovely shot.
Unbelievable,
short catch and counter.
He's a much cleverer fighter than you think. From boxing him in 2016 to sparring in 2018, the improvements are unbelievable. In the rematch, I just fancy Whyte to box long. I fancy he comes in a little bit heavier than the first fight as well. I think his best weight's about 18.5. Not that extra weight and punches him will do any favours with that shot, but I think he comes in heavier. It was literally, I think Dylan Whyte's jabs on the TV all look lazy. They all look lazy and laboured, but it's pretty sharp when you're in there with him.
It's deceptively long as well.
Oh, he's got probably the best jab I've faced actually. Even Bob David Price's was pretty good the night when I boxed him. But he's got to be sharp. He's got to be sharp. You beat Povetkin with sharpness at his age. At 41 years old at the time of the rematch, you beat Alexander Povetkin with sharpness. That's easy for me to sit here and say that. Dylan Whyte's capable of doing it, and I believe he will. I genuinely believe he beats Povetkin. I believe Povetkin's dead for the beating, and I think Dylan Whyte's more than capable of doing that. I'd be surprised if he's not.